Welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung, and today what we're going to be discussing as the Miami Dolphins come off their bye week and get ready for the next game, we're going to be talking about the Miami Dolphins injury situation. There are still a lot of players that we didn't get a chance to see at their full strength. We just now got back Jalen Ramsey a couple of weeks ago. We were able to get Xavier Howard back against the Kansas City Chiefs, and as everybody is aware by now, it was the offense that ended up letting Miami down in that game against Kansas City in Germany. It was not the defense that let them down. As far as anybody should be looking at it, Kansas City only scored 14 points total on offense against the Miami Dolphins defense. And that in and of itself right there is proof positive that this team is on the right track, but they still need to clean up a few things, and the fact that we're going to be getting some important players back, I believe, is going to help out a lot. I'm going to go ahead and break everything down, how it's all going to work, but before that, really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that, as always, this show is brought to you by our great friends over at PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each, it's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials where you can get your money back if you lose, or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up if you're any kind of a fantasy sports fan. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you use that promo code 5, that's F-I-V-E, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. PrizePicks.com is the best place to go for your daily fantasy needs. So once again, use the promo code 5, F-I-V-E, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. This show is also affiliate sponsored by My Nintendo Store. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I consider myself a gamer at heart. I am a big fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, have been for a very, very long time. Love how Sonic Frontiers came out. I am also a big fan of Pokemon. I am a great big fan of the Spider-Man games that came out from Insomniac, those PS exclusives. Listen, it may just get me to crack and buy a PS5 finally, just to be able to play that new Spider-Man game just because of how amazing it looks. But for those of you who are not aware, Nintendo has been there for nearly 50 years, creating all-time classics that so many of us enjoy. I know that one of my favorites is Super Mario Sunshine. I also really enjoyed the Mario Superstar Baseball series. That was a lot of fun for me, being a sports fan. So to be able to put Mario and sports in the same sentence, that was an awesome time for me. Now, they have special deals coming up on My Nintendo Store that you guys can take advantage of right now. For instance, Super Mario RPG, a classic from the days of the Nintendo 64, is being completely remastered from the ground up and will be releasing on November 17th for new audiences to enjoy Mario's first ever RPG adventure. Almost everything is kept intact. A lot of the same jokes that you thought were hysterical back then, they are now going to still be there in the remastered version. So make sure that you check that out. You can pre-order it in the link in the description below. And also Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the Mario Bros. Latest completely new game that is already receiving rave reviews from both critics and actual gamers alike. Once again, just click the links in the description below to order or pre-order either of these awesome titles, and you'll be receiving bonus items upon making your purchase. My Nintendo Store, your best and quickest gateway to the world of Nintendo. Okay, everyone, so let's get into this. So let's just go based off of the previous injury report that we saw right before the Kansas City Chiefs game, because that's the most obvious screenshot of what we have of where everybody was when we last saw them. So Robert Hunt did not practice due to his hamstring. Apparently, the situation with him was that it was a little bit more serious than we were led to believe. I don't think it's serious enough that he won't be able to play this upcoming week. However, it obviously kept him out of Kansas City, and that did make a difference, as much as we don't want it to seem that way. Robert Hunt being in there, he is the best offensive line on the entire roster right now. I firmly believe that, and even more so than Teron Armstead, simply because Teron Armstead, he is an all-pro, no doubt about that. Connor Williams, as a blocker, is a fantastic center, but that's the problem, isn't it? As a center, there is one other job that he has to do. Connor Williams is required to snap the football. And in the biggest situation of the entire game, with the opportunity to tie the game on the line, whether you want to blame Tua's inability to handle the snap, or whether you want to blame Connor Williams for doing a bad snap, it was still a bad exchange all the way around, and the game ended on the wimpiest whimper that I can possibly come up with. He didn't even get a chance to throw the football. Tua just ran to try to land on the ball as if that would have made a difference. Quite honestly, at that point, I would have just said, you know what, forget it. You can have the ball, go score a touchdown. The game is over anyway. There was nothing that could have been done at that point. I will give Tua credit for never saying die no matter what the situation. In any other game situation, it would have been the right thing to do to fall on the ball, assuming that you would get the ball back to try again. So I will give him credit for that. He didn't look at the game situation and just say, you know what, I'm going to protect myself. He said, I am one of these players too. I'm going to give it my best shot, and so be it. So Robert Hunt being in is a huge boon for the Miami Dolphins offensive line. With any luck, we will be getting him back this upcoming week. It's actually interesting how Mike McDaniel felt the need to inform the media on November 7th when he did his press conference that he made sure everybody was aware that this was the first game of his entire NFL career, Robert Hunt, that he had actually missed due to injury. So you think about that. Robert Hunt has been an Iron Man for the Dolphins ever since he got here in Miami. So it becomes so important that the Dolphins find a way to lock him up, even more so than Connor Williams. I was gung-ho. I was so determined to make sure Connor Williams stayed a Miami Dolphin because finally one of their free agents had seemed to be panning out because Miami's, as far as their reputation goes for drafting offensive linemen, it hasn't been good. Now, granted, Austin Jackson looks a lot better under Butch Berry's tutelage, and Robert Hunt has been solid the entire time, so maybe, just maybe, we can give the Dolphins credit for that, because they seem to have fixed the problem there. But as far as the center position goes, here's what I'm looking at right now. Connor Williams has already made it known that he wants a fresh contract. He probably wants to get paid as one of the highest paid centers in the NFL, because isn't that what all NFL free agents want? You perform well, you expect to become the highest paid insert position here. That's just how this game goes. Now, do I think that Connor Williams deserves to get paid? Yes, to some extent. I would definitely want to pay him as a guard, not as a center, because I don't trust him to snap the football properly. So if he was willing to stay on as a left guard, because I don't trust right now Isaiah Wynn to come back healthy and be able to perform in that regard. Mike McDaniel talked about Isaiah Wynn, basically saying that nothing has changed there. I don't think we'll be seeing him for quite some time, which means that it's going to be Lester Cotton probably, or Liam Eichenberg at left guard. Not the best situation. Again, I'll give credit to Butch Berry for working magic with Austin Jackson, but there's just something about Liam Eichenberg, man. He's just not getting it, and that's a problem. So we need to fix the left guard position. What better way to do it, in my opinion at this point, than to put Connor Williams at left guard? But here's what the situation is. It seems to me that there is this stigma when it comes to the guard position. It's as if centers are, on average, paid more than guards. I'm guessing that's why he wants to be paid as a center and not as a guard. But quite frankly, at this point, I'm looking at Connor Williams and saying, look, dude, you are a great player, but you are not good at snapping the football. I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know why you can't get it right, but we need somebody who can reliably get the ball to Tua exactly where it needs to be. So if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'm looking at Tua and saying, we're going to get you somebody who can snap the football in the draft this upcoming season. I would be perfectly happy with that. Miami's weapons are on point. You have Tua, you have Tyreek Hill locked up, you have Jalen Waddle, and if you need to, you can bring back River Craycraft. Again, let's see how well Chase Claypool does in this scheme. Maybe he's willing to come back and continue to grow his career, such as it is in Miami. He has had his moments in blocking, and he will get his moments in the passing game as well. I firmly believe that, if he continues to keep his nose clean. That's the sticking point with Chase Claypool. So he's definitely a talented player. He just needs to get better at what it is that we're asking him to do, blocking. That's what River Craycraft does well. So I'll get into River Craycraft a little bit more in just a moment, but talking just about the offensive line, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, very important that we have them back healthy. Teron Armstead with his knee situation. He's going to be healthier now too. He's had 2 weeks off to be able to get himself rested up. I'm sure that they're going to be very careful with him. They're not going to force him to practice very much because he's Teron Armstead. He gets away with it. He's the only player, I feel like, who can really get away with it, just not practice all week long and then go into the game and act like everything is normal. He's the only one who can do that. But that's only because he is Teron Armstead. To quote a phrase, he is him when it comes to his ability to block, his mental capacity for the game of football. It is unmatched. The only one you could even come up close with would probably be Trent Williams. And he is also a stud in his own right, but he also is suffering from injury problems right now. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say something probably a little bizarre. In spite of everything that I've said, I would honestly not mind at all if, well, for whatever reason, Mike McDaniel decided to once again play this game of protecting the players from themselves. In fact, I wouldn't even mind at this point if Teron Armstead ended up getting benched just because. Kendall Lamb has done a fantastic job all season long, and obviously we've seen a lot from Austin Jackson. We can go ahead and leave him in there, but you don't need Robert Hunt for the opponent that the Dolphins have coming up next. It's going to be the Las Vegas Raiders at home in Hard Rock. You are going to have a home game right off the bye week, and the Las Vegas Raiders, they are an absolute dumpster fire right now. They just fired Josh McDaniels. They are relying on Antonio Pierce to lead them to victory. Their starting quarterback right now is Aiden O'Connell. They have no real weapons aside from maybe Josh Jacobs. And of course, they have Devontae Adams as well. But the problem is that in order for Devontae Adams to be a weapon worth having, you have to have somebody who can throw him the football. Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm sorry. He's probably looking at Miami and saying, oh God, no, not them. Please, not again. I don't want to end my career because they broke my foot for the 4th time or something along those lines. Jimmy Garoppolo, every time he's played Miami, he's had a serious injury. He does not want to go back in. And even if he did, they're probably looking at Aiden O'Connell and saying, look, kid, you're the guy now, because we've already seen what Jimmy Garoppolo can do here, and it's not good. So the Raiders are an absolute mess, and I am sure that Mike McDaniel has spent these past couple of weeks just desperately looking for a way to fix the problem that was sown after the loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to try to come up with some new plans, try to get everything reevaluated, find ways to get the cadence right, find ways to make sure the communication is on point. Miami is awesome when they're at home. The numbers provide that proof. But on the road is when they struggle with their communication, and that is so key in this offense. Timing, all of that stuff, so important. Need it. If you don't have it, the offense doesn't work. But at home, at Hard Rock Stadium, where it's going to be, hopefully anyway, a majority of Dolphins fans, there's no stopping Miami's offense. All they have to do, at least on offense, is stop Max Crosby. Aside from that, the Raiders defense doesn't exactly look that impressive, at least on paper. You have Malik Reed, who the Dolphins cut this offseason because he couldn't cut it in Vic Fangio's defense, which, by the way, I should mention once again, Malik Reed made a name for himself in Vic Fangio's defense. So if even he could not cut it, either because it was a lack of effort or something along those lines, lack of effort, you might want to check out some of the old 3 yards per carry podcast. Alfredo Arteaga, he was the one talking about it. The guy just didn't seem to care all that much. So, also, by the way, OnlyFins, $3 a month. Make sure you're checking that out. I'm in there. I get a lot of great info from there. Going down the list again of the defensive line for the Las Vegas Raiders, Adam Butler, John Jenkins, nose tackle. I like him a lot. He was good with Miami, a good backup player, but again, he's not really starter material. I just keep looking down this list here. There's nothing special on this team on defense aside from Max Crosby. Like, there's a few names I recognize. A cornerback, Marcus Peters, like I remember him, sure. But looking at this Raiders defense, it's not great on paper. It really is not. Unless there's somebody on here that I'm just missing, that I do not know that he's a hidden gem. I'll probably get more info on that when I do Behind Enemy Lines this upcoming Friday with a Raiders person. But all I'm looking at here is an absolute dumpster fire of a Raiders roster, and I don't think the Dolphins need to throw out Robert Hunt right now. I think they can go ahead and let him rest up one more time. Robert Hunt will probably not be thrilled about that whole concept, but I feel like that's the best thing that Miami can do right now. Speaking of players who are dealing with injuries, Xavier Howard, I think he can go ahead and play. He's obviously still dealing with a groin injury. That's not something that is unusual for him. He was dealing with a groin injury not too long ago. Even as far as last season, he's been dealing with groin injuries, so that's just kind of a thing with him. Raheem Mostert, dealing with an ankle injury. We already saw what he did against Kansas City. He was fine. I'm sure he's going to continue to be fine. All this talk about how injury prone he is, yeah, he's been a little dinged up here and there, but he's played. He hasn't been taken out. Alec Ingold, he's with his foot injury. He's been a full participant in practice all this time. Back injury for Jalen Waddle. I'm sure he's feeling a lot better after having a week off, so we'll probably get Jalen Waddle back to full strength. Justin Bethel dealing with a foot injury. He's been playing. River Craycraft. That's the big one right there from Miami right now. River Craycraft. When River Craycraft is playing, his ability to block downfield as a wide receiver is unmatched on this roster. I truly believe that. River Craycraft is the most fundamentally sound player at the wide receiver position that Miami has. And I don't mean that to say he's the most talented, he's not the most physically gifted. Obviously, he is not. But as far as his fundamentals, his mental capacity, his ability to just be in the right spot and to be able to do the hard stuff, the stuff that nobody else wants to do. Blocking is not flashy when you are a wide receiver. You can leave that flashy stuff to the likes of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They are the playmakers on this offense. But when it comes to making things easier for the running game, giving holes for Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson and Devon Achane, which I will get to in just a moment. Devon Achane will be coming back too very, very soon. I am sure that he is going to be chomping at the bit to try to get back his old magic that he had before his injury, because he was lighting the NFL on fire. River Craycraft coming back is going to be such a big deal for the Dolphins. But now there's going to be some hard decisions to make here. With the Miami Dolphins situation, the way the roster is right now, River Craycraft has to be brought back from the IR. He's been getting his time to practice. He's been working his way back from his injury. But here's the problem. There's only so many spots on the roster that you are allowed to have. And right now, the people who are on this roster include River Craycraft. He's on injured reserve. Chris Brooks, Devon Achane, Keon Crossan, Zeke Vandenberg, and Isaiah Wynn. So the Dolphins have already brought back a bunch of players from that IR room. You can't afford to do any more. There's only so many players you're allowed to do this with. Now, you bring back River Craycraft, and I think that it is a given that he will be one of the last few players that they are allowed to bring back from their injuries. But who do you remove in order to make room on the 53-man roster? And this is where it gets interesting. Because to some extent, every wide receiver on this roster has had something to contribute here. Braxton Berrios, he seems to be the consensus number 3 wide receiver at this point. He and Cedric Wilson seem to be splitting the snaps. Robbie Chosen got brought back, and unfortunately, he hasn't been able to contribute a whole lot. I just don't think that blocking is something that he is particularly good at. I don't think at this point he's a good fit for the offense. So I think if you're going to make room for River Craycraft on this team, Robbie Chosen, in my opinion, would be the odd man out. Cedric Wilson, the trade deadline came and went, and he is still a Miami Dolphin. Probably what's going to happen is that after next season, the Dolphins will maybe try to find a way to cut ties with Cedric Wilson simply because he's not contributing in the way that the Dolphins are hoping he will. He finally caught a touchdown not too long ago, so good for him. But I'm looking at Robbie Chosen and thinking, your spot on the roster, dude, just doesn't seem to be... there doesn't seem to be a place for you. There just isn't. So if I'm the Dolphins, I'm looking at the situation here, and I'm going to say, well, maybe we can bring you back on the practice squad. Maybe we can remove Freddie Swain from the equation because he's a wide receiver. He's not particularly doing much on the practice squad right now. If Robbie Chosen wants to get brought back onto the practice squad, maybe the Dolphins can do that with him instead. But they have to make room for River Craycraft, and I think Robbie Chosen is the odd man out on that one. As far as the rest of it, Devon Achane, he has to be brought back, but who do you remove in that regard? You already have Savon Ahmed, Raheem Mostert, and Jeff Wilson, so you only have 3 right now. Do you cut Savon Ahmed? I sincerely doubt they're going to do that. If there's anybody on this team that the Dolphins might be looking to part ways with in the meantime, you have to go down this list very carefully because everybody here does something for them. Probably maybe Cameron Good. As a linebacker or a defensive end or however you want to line him up, I would go ahead and see if maybe I can cut ties with him, stash him back onto the practice squad somehow if you're really that committed to him. Or maybe Kelvin Joseph. We traded Noah Igbenogany to the Dallas Cowboys for Kelvin Joseph with the understanding that he would be somebody who could play special teams. What's ironic is that Noah Igbenogany is playing special teams for the Dallas Cowboys, and last we heard he was doing okay. Kelvin Joseph, on the other hand, for Miami, has done nothing. There have been a bunch of weeks where he has been completely inactive. He has been irrelevant. I would just go ahead and cut ties with Kelvin Joseph and say thanks, but no thanks. We'll go ahead and bring back Devon Achane, and you can go and do whatever it is that you were doing before. He wasn't doing it for anybody. That's what I would go ahead and do. That's my plan for the Dolphins moving forward. This injury situation, they're getting so many important players back from IR very soon. Craycraft, Devon Achane will be coming back very soon. Robert Hunt, he's already going to be coming back, I believe. But let's not rush things. The Las Vegas Raiders are not a team that I necessarily need to be stressed about. We will talk about this more on Pulse of Fins Nation on Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Or if, once again, we are now added on Pulse of Fins Nation. We've been added to the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast feed, so you can check out there as well. We're going to be talking more about the actual game coming up once it happens. and I'm very excited to see where it's going to go. The Las Vegas Raiders should be another win for the Dolphins. I know I'm already going to be picking them. I'll get into the scores and the hows and the whys and all that when that show comes. That's going to be it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening. If you have not already done so, make sure you go check out PrizePicks.com. Use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Promo code 5, FIVE. And once again, we are affiliate sponsored by My Nintendo Store. Make sure you check out the links in the description below. You can order or pre-order Super Mario RPG and as well as Super Mario Bros. Wonder, the two newest games that are be coming up in Nintendo's endlessly long lineup. So make sure you check it out. My Nintendo Store, your best and quickest gateway to the world of Nintendo. That's going to be it. See you all next time for another episode of Fins Nation.